Hey everybody, this is Joe Gilder from HomeStudioCorner.com. We're continuing that whole getting it right at the source conversation, and today I'm going to talk about setting levels. So we've gone through pre-production, performer, performance, instrument, microphone placement, mic technique, preamp, all that stuff. Now we're talking about setting levels. Now you may want to think, well, duh, you just turned it up, right? Yes and no, okay? Don't skip over this video because this might be one of the most important videos in the series on actually setting the levels. A little bit of backstory. Back in the old days when we were recording through analog consoles to analog tape, you wanted to record at a nice hot level, okay? You wanted to hit the board at a pretty hot level, and you especially wanted to hit that tape at a nice hot level. So there was clipping, but as you got closer to clipping, you actually got a pretty cool sound because there was added saturation and you're just driving everything a little bit harder. So you didn't want to clip, but you also didn't want the signal to be too low because the system had a bunch of noise that was just an inherent part of the system. It's called the noise floor. So you have the noise floor down here, and you've got clipping up here, and so you wanted to get the signal as close to clipping without clipping and as far away from the noise floor as possible. Well, fast forward to today in our 24-bit digital recording systems, and that's just not the case, okay? The issues of the two things don't happen anymore. A, the noise floor has been taken way, 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 way down. So instead of it like this, you can't even see it. It's out of the camera. So the noise floor isn't an issue because digital systems are very quiet. Secondly, that benefit of driving the recording medium very hard doesn't exist either. Let me explain that. We talked about with analog tape, as you got louder and louder, you added some distortion and some thickness, and not distortion, but I guess saturation to the signal. So it sounded pretty good the harder you hit the tape. Well, with digital, if this is clipping, this signal sounds a certain way, this signal sounds exactly the same, even this signal sounds exactly the same, it's just louder. So there is no sonic benefit of recording at this level versus this level. But there is a huge downside to if you clip, because everybody knows digital clipping sounds awful. Analog clipping can sound awful, but digital clipping, there's no forgiveness, it just sounds awful and doesn't work. So why would you try to record so close to clipping if there's no sonic benefit to recording at that level? So that's the point I want you to take away today. You do not have to record really loudly to get a great sounding recording. And on the back end, when you go to mix, we're going to talk about levels in mixing at some point. When you're setting your levels for the initial mix, if you recorded everything super, super, super loud, you're going to have to bring all those faders down just so that your mix doesn't clip the master bus. And then mixing with faders way down low, that's just not very fun. Yes, you could use a trim plugin to fix that. You can do all those sorts of things to get your gain staging right, but why not get it right at the source and record at a more conservative level so that you don't have to bring all those faders down? If you're recording a shaker track, there's no reason that shaker needs to be this huge waveform that's recorded almost as loud as possible. You're just going to bring that fader all the way down until it sits back in the mix. Why not record it at just a conservative level and then let it sit in the mix much more easily? Okay? This is something you're going to have to experiment with yourself, and you'll start to understand it as you do project after project, and you start to realize that this setting levels thing is actually a big part of getting a great sound and not clipping and making it easy for you to do the mix in the future. So if this, let's say my hand is the meter, this is the lowest part, this is clipping. When I'm recording, and I promise you this is how I do it, I generally try to record with the level about right here. It's not below halfway, but it's not way up here. I'm somewhere maybe around the 2/3 mark at most. If it starts to get up here, I just turn it down because I'm not getting any benefit there, and it makes performance and recording a lot easier because I'm not having to worry about clipping at all. I can just perform, I can belt it out, I can play a little bit harder, and I've got plenty of headroom to not have to worry about clipping. So those are a few reasons why you must sit down and think about how you're setting your levels in your recordings, and if you can get it right, it's going to pay off big time in the end.